Buddha, whatever. Wouldn't you like to be exempt from taxes?
Yes, sir.
He didn't say sales tax. He said all tax, and he have it in capital letters. All taxation, as long as we are deprived of equal justice under the laws of the land. Think about that, all the tax that we pay, right? And the poor pays the most tax.
Yes, sir.
The rich know how to, get out of that thing, right? They know how to play the game. Yes, some of us, we trying to learn how to do that too, right? But think about if we were exempt from tax.
Yes, sir.
And we would pool that money. What could we do with all of that money?
Go free.
Right? We could do a lot with that money.
Yes, sir.
Right? We'd be done paid the mortgage off tomorrow with just the taxes.
That's right.
Right? So we have to begin to think about these things. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us a plan, program, and position. What the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe. He says this, number 7, as long as we are not allowed to establish a state or territory of our own, we demand not only equal justice under the laws of the United States, but equal employment opportunities. We know that we don't have that.
No, sir.
Right? We do not believe that after 400 years of free or nearly free labor. Think about that. You think even today we getting our just due from our labor?
No, sir.
They're making tons of money off of us. Then we turn around and give what he gave us, we give it back to him.
Lord have mercy.
Buying overpriced items. Right? That's like a double whammy.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to stop right there. Right? I lost my place, but I'm going to stop right there. But that's enough to even think about what we need to do as a community.
Yes, sir.
So praise be to Allah. I thank you all for hearing these short words. I didn't even know that Brother Willie was not going to be here today. So that means we're going to hear from our brother.
Yes, sir.
Right? Our brother, I know he got a nice meal, right? Right? Even though we ate, I know we ate a lot. I know how to eat to live went out the window this Thursday. Right? I confess. I ate a lot of macaroni. Love that macaroni. The messenger said don't eat all that macaroni, all that pasta. But I know that our brother has prepared us a good, wholesome meal, right? Not for the body, but for the mind and spirit. Is that right? So as I greet you in peace, assalamu alaikum. Let's bring on our brother Lawrence Muhammad with a round of applause.
Let's give Brother Dwayne another round of applause, please. Ooh, that's kind of weak, huh? Y'all all right? Everybody all right? Praise be to Allah. I know we still recovering.
That's right.
We still recovering. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master Father Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is indeed his true servant, the arisen and exalted Christ. I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan Muhammad is our divine reminder, servant, warner, big brother in our midst today. And in those names, I'd like to greet you with the greeting words of peace and of paradise. Assalamu alaikum. How are we doing today?
Fine, sir.
Praise be to Allah. I too am doing fine by God's grace and permission. This is New Orleans, man. You know, we got the Bayou Classic hangover. The Saints playing today. Then there's a parade later on today down there in the Bywater by them people. So it's all types of things that's going on. So, you know, yeah, a little bit of everything going on in New Orleans. So, you know, as Brother Dwayne said, you know, I know some of us, you know, got a little full over the weekend. I had some of that mac and cheese, but I ain't gonna get front with you. You know, my sister-in-law can throw down, man. And so, you know, had to get a little something. But with all that being said and done, it's time for us to hear the word of Allah and heed the words of Allah, because this time that you and I are living in is a very, very difficult, dark, and dangerous time. And if you look at our people and if you look at the world in general, you see that there are people who don't really know how to handle life, don't know how to handle the stressors of life. And when we don't know how to handle the stressors of life, it can cause us to do some damaging things to ourselves or to others. And so the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gave us the study guides. And in these self-improvement study guides, it teaches us just that, how to improve self and how to be able to handle life itself, and not just handle life, but to conquer life, to master this thing called life, so that you and I can become one with God. So I want to thank Mr. Willie for giving me the opportunity to come before you once again. And I don't want to belabor the point, so we want to get right down to it. So today, it's going to be a lot of reading, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, Brother Lawrence don't really have anything to say in and of himself. Everything that I say comes from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But I thought that this would be so appropriate because what he says, as I was going over it and studying it, I'm like, man, now I've read these study guides so many times. But then going back over it again, you find new things that stand out, that stick out. And it's like, because as we go throughout life and we experience certain things in life, now the things that we once read, when we go back and look at them again, we're looking at them from fresh eyes, from a new perspective, because I've experienced this in my life, that in my life. Now it causes me to look at things from a different point of view. You all right?
Yes, sir.
So I would like to start off with a question. And the question is, I mean, you don't have to answer it, but if you know the answer, you can. The question is, who is the original man? Right? That's the question. Who is the original man? And for the average person has never even really pondered that question. Who is the original man? Who is the first man? And the answer is the original man is, not was, is today, right now, in this present time, the original man is. the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. That's a big answer. Now, the average person doesn't believe that. I mean, you got to think about it. That's big. Because when you and I look out into the world and we see the black man and woman, we don't see God. We see a people that is at the bottom of society. We see a people who are robbing and killing one another. We see a people who are doped up and doped out. So to say that the original man is the Asiatic black man, man, that's something to say, because you're like, how are these people the original people? Then you say not only are they the original people, but they're the gods of the universe. He's strung out on crack. How is that the God of the universe? He laying in the gutter, drunk. But you saying that this is the cream of the planet Earth. I want you to get this picture in your mind. Not that he was the original man, that he was the cream of the planet Earth, that he was the God of the universe. He is the God of the universe. Because most black people don't think well of themselves. Because of our situation in America. All of the knowledge of self had been stripped away from us. And we were turned into slaves. We were not slaves when we were brought here. We were made into slaves. We were free black men and women before slavery. And when you and I are in school, they like to start our history off from slavery. What you mean to tell me we were born slaves? Our whole history starts with slavery. We didn't do nothing else before slavery. So you tell us that we came from Africa, but you don't give us any African history. You start us off on the plantation. What were we doing before we encountered you? So once you and I can start to stretch our minds a little bit, right? Slavery was only about a little over 400 years ago. Well, who put those pyramids out there in the middle of the desert? Who was it that mapped the stars? Who was it who did all of those things? Who gave you and I mathematics and science? Where did all of that stuff come from? So we have to now be brought back to ourselves again. And I know sometimes it's difficult, man, to hear how great black people are, but then what we see with our eyes tells a completely different story. You know, back in the days, your pops or your grandpops used to tell you how they had to walk 50 miles to school in the snow with no shoes on. And as a youngster, you're trying to picture that because you catch the bus to school. And you're like, man, I can't believe, man, he used to do that, man. Nah, ain't no way. So when you hear about the greatness of black people and how wonderful we are, how powerful we are as a people, but then we look right in front of us. You say, nah, man, I can't believe that, man. Not these people. Not these people right here. So who is the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man. Why is he Asiatic?
Come on, teach.
I'm not Asian. At one time, the whole earth was called Asia. Go back and look at some old maps, and you'll see East Asia, West Asia, Asia Minor, Asia Major. The whole earth at one time was called Asia. So since you and I are the first people on the planet, we were Asians. We are the original Asians. Not Chinese people. Japanese people. They are aboriginal from the original. But you and I are the original Asians. But we are the Asiatic black man. See? The maker of this planet, this universe. And whatever it is that you make, you own. If you haven't sold your rights away to somebody else. So since we made the planet, we own the planet. And we are the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. That's a lofty description for black people. Now, if you accept this statement as a fact, what is your interpretation of this statement as it relates to you about yourself? Well, who, me? I ain't no cream or nothing. I'm still struggling. Who, me? I ain't no God. Don't call me no God. There's but one God. See? I was out one day and I called a brother, said, how you doing, black man? Well, I ain't no black man. What you calling me black man for? I got confused. I was like, well, what are you? Right? Don't calling me that. See? So we have been so messed up as a people that we really don't even want to identify with blackness, because in our minds, blackness is at the bottom of everything. Black is the worst of everything. So don't associate me with black at all. So now you think about our situation through slavery and how we were made slaves, how we were beaten, how we were tortured, how our women were raped, and how we were murdered, how we were abused, how we were kept illiterate.
Come on, teach.
All of those things now contributed to the way we see ourselves today. So the people who did that to us, they know our history.
Yes.
They know what they found in Africa.
Come on.
So therefore, in order for them to rule over us, they had to strip that knowledge away from you and I and make you and I submissive to them. That's why they made us call them master. See? Only God should be our master. But they made us call them master. So, what do you and I think of ourselves today? Do you think that you are the God of the universe? Do you think you are the cream of the planet Earth? See? The maker and the owner. Or how do we see ourselves? Some of us have a very low opinion of ourselves. And in having a low opinion of ourselves, that carries on throughout life in our interaction with other people. So even today, as you and I encounter Caucasian people, we still look down. That's real talk. We don't look them in the eye. Why? Because we've been taught. You don't look them in the eye. Walking down the sidewalk, go on the other side. That's still happening today. How you think we out here killing one another all day long? All day long. But you don't hear very much about other people being killed. Why? Because you can kill us, you ain't killing nothing. Our lives are not valuable. Their life is valuable. So therefore, have you ever seen this movie, Demolition Man? With Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes? Wesley Snipes was this bad criminal. He'll kill you in a heartbeat. But he wanted to escape and, go on his little spree and do his own thing, and he got a gun. Now, he was killing everybody else. But this white man was standing in front of him, and he had the gun on him and could not pull the trigger. So he had to give the gun to somebody else and let somebody else do it. But I'm saying, this is how we are as a people, how our minds are. That's God's people. You can't harm God's people. Now, I want to read something to us that's going to bring this home a little bit, because I want to see us regain and retain our power. Once we learn how to bring out the greatness that's within ourselves, then we cannot be stopped. So when we say the original man is, it means our potential is still there. The potential hasn't gone anywhere. So when the founder of the Nation of Islam, Master Fard Muhammad, came, he asked the question, how many original Muslims, or how many Muslims are there in North America? At that time, it was a little over 17 million. But it was like, hey, but did I hear that some of the 17 million do not know that they are Muslims? I hardly believe that, unless they are blind, deaf, and dumb. So he called us Muslims, but we didn't look at ourselves as Muslims. So what was he saying? He was saying the very nature of you and I is to submit our will to do the will of God. That in the Arabic language is Muslim. So even though we were acting other than ourselves, he understood and knew who we were by nature.
That's right.
So when we say the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe, that is the nature of us. That is the potential that's lying dormant within us. But it has to be brought out. It has to be rediscovered. And that is the role of religion. To do again. Religion, to tie or to bind. See, to bring us back, tie us back to our history, to ourselves, to our God, to our nature. We okay?
Yes, sir.
So the minister, I don't have my glasses, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. The minister writes, the knowledge of self is the greatest of all knowledge. It is akin to the knowledge of Allah God. Both of these knowledges, which is really one, is the key to our return to God, self, and power. Think about that now. The knowledge of self and the knowledge of God is really one. The knowledge of God is the knowledge of self, and the knowledge of self is the knowledge of God. He said this is the key to our return to God, to self, and to power. We are trying to find power everywhere else except in God and in self. We're looking for it everywhere except for where we should be looking. We think we're looking for it in money. We're looking for it in material possessions, but not realizing that our true power lies in God. The minister says the study of ourselves as black people, the original people of the earth, must never be abandoned.
Never. Go ahead.
We must know ourselves historically. Did you catch that? We got to know our history. Not starting with slavery. Before slavery. We must know ourselves historically, biologically, genetically. But we must also go to the root of ourselves, which is knowledge of the nature in which we are created, which is the essence of self-knowledge. So we have to go all the way to the root. So what is the root or the essence of ourselves?
Good question. Good question.
The root or the essence of us is God. See? He created from these two, what? Many men and women. But it's an essence that these two came from. And this other or second self was made of the same essence as the first. So the male and the female both came from the same God. You know, coming to America. Your queen to be. I can't sing it. But we shouldn't even call her a queen, because the word queen is beneath her. He said we should not even call her a goddess.
Right. That's right. That's what he said. That's right.
Goddess. Yes, sir. You're like, well, dang, that's above queen. He said, but we shouldn't even call her a goddess.
Take it up. God.
He said when we refer to her, we should refer to her as a god. Period. She is the second self of God. She is the co-creator with God. None of us would be here, brothers, if it wasn't for a woman. I know you say God can do all things, and this is absolutely true. Absolutely true. But he also does things according to nature.
Right.
He does things according to the way nature works.
Right.
And so, even though you and I may see things and we say this is a miracle, it's just a higher form of how the universe works that you and I have not yet been acquainted with. Childbirth is a miracle. But you can't have childbirth without a male and a female. I don't care what they try to do now. They might try to clone some people. They have human beings born in a test tube. But you need a male and a female for any way to bring a human life on this planet, or any life for that matter. So they cloned, about to tell my age, Dolly the sheep. Y'all remember Dolly the sheep?
Yes, sir.
They cloned the sheep, and they make you think they did it out of thin air. But they had to go in and get some genetic material, some sperm. Only thing they did was actually did it outside of the body. They did it in a laboratory. But you need a male and you need a female. So brothers, we should not refer to our sisters as queens or goddesses, but gods. And I know sometimes we slip, because, you know, it just be in the moment. How you doing, queen? How you doing? And then, you know, it's cool. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but we just letting you know who she really is. We all right? So now, look, praise be to Allah. The minister says, Master Father Muhammad called all of us Muslims. This is an indication that our real national identity does not come from the earth or a particular landmass. For national boundaries are actually artificial. We are from the earth, but the essence of us is from Allah God. This is why we do not refer to ourselves as members of a nation tied to a particular landmass, but we are directly tied to the Creator and the nature in which He created, in which we were created. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we are members of the Creator's nation, so we must act accordingly. So this is an issue sometimes with some of our nationalist brothers and sisters who say we should not refer to ourselves as black because there's no nation on the planet called black. So we must refer to ourselves as Africans. So therefore we can go to the United Nations and get some semblance of justice, because otherwise you are not recognized by the United Nations. Well, my aim and objective is not to be recognized by the United Nations, because the United Nations is actually ran and governed by the United States. The United Nations is not an independent body. We all right?
Yes, sir.
So, now they get on us for referring to ourselves as black and don't really understand why we refer to ourselves as black. Because in their mind, they are trying to be validated by other people instead of being validated by God Himself. So when I was in college, I took this world history class. And in world history class, they actually teach how all of these nations came about. these nations did not exist prior to 6,000 years ago.
That's right. Come on, man.
Are you with me? They did not exist prior to 6,000 years ago. When Caucasian people came on our planet, and they were allowed to do their thing, the Bible says that they sally forth on the earth, right? And when they were let loose out of the hills and cave sides of Europe, they went about conquering every people that they could find. And as they got to particular areas on the earth, and they already found people there, they murdered those people. They murdered the men. They kept the women, and they took that land for themselves and named that land after themselves.
That's right. That's right.
And then this kept going on, and you set up territories. Then eventually states and nations. But that's where the nationalistic mindset came in. So you could have conquered this people and called this landmass after yourself, and right across the street was another landmass that had been conquered by somebody else. And you were restricted from coming over here to this landmass because you weren't from this name.
That's right.
And that's how these national boundaries have been established on the earth. So for us to walk around trying to claim a nationality, that's from Caucasian people.
That's right.
That's why they talking about. No, I'm not going to touch that one. I'm not going to touch that one.
Don't be scared to tell your age.
No, it had nothing to do with my age, but if you understand where I'm going. But there's some people who claim to be a people that's not supposed to be in a certain place. And they're saying that, well, before we got here, there really wasn't no quote-unquote name for this place. So we just going to take it and claim it as our own. Because the black man, we didn't have to claim something and give it a name like that, man. It's just ours. All of it was ours.
Right.
So, but the other people want to come and they have to put a name on everything. See, that's why you and I have to understand the nature of things, the nature of people. When you go into this Bible, there's a man who was made named Adam. And in the Holy Quran, you have Adam. And Adam was given the ability to name things. We all right? All the animals that you see, did black people name them or did white people name them? Huh? All these nations on the earth that we're trying to be a part of, who named them? Black people or white people? I know you want to claim to be an African, but did black people name that Africa? Or did white people call it Africa? So why are we so excited to be called African? When it was named after a white man, Leo Africanus. We want to be Americans. But that was named after a white man. Amerigo Vespucius. So we are so proud to be called by the names of our enemies. And we are embarrassed to be called by the name of God.
Right.
Think about that.
Think about it.
So look, that was a sidebar. So we are the lost found members of the nation of Islam. Think about that. See? That's our nation.
Right.
Islam. Where do you find Islam? Everywhere.
That's right.
Every square inch of the planet you will find Muslims. We are taught that Islam is everything. It's the sun, the moon, and the stars. You cannot get on the outside of Islam. Islam is complete surrender to the will of God. Now, how are you and I going to get on the outside of that? Since he is the originator of everything. And everything that you and I can see, smell, taste, touch is created by him.
Right.
So we cannot get on the outside of Islam. So we are the nation of Islam. That's not just talking about this small group of people who are quote unquote registered in the nation of Islam. That's every black man and woman on the planet. Did you catch that? That's every black man and woman on the planet. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the black man is made up of the black, the brown, and the yellow people. Did y'all catch that? So your Chinese brothers and sisters is a part of the original family. Your Japanese brothers and sisters is a part of the original black family. We're all right. Y'all all right? So we are the lost found members of the nation of Islam. Our natural home is the entire planet Earth. This is why in the actual facts and the student enrollment, Master Father Muhammad asked us the total area of the planet Earth. 196,940,000 square miles. He asks us, how much is the land? 57,255,000 square miles. How much is the water? 139,685,000 square miles of water. For this earth is our home, all of it.
Right.
So that goes back to the first question I asked. Who is the original man? It's the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. Well, if this is our home, then you and I should know every square inch of our home. If you've lived in a house for a while, and that's your home, you can walk through that bad boy with all the lights off.
Right. Feel. That's right.
You just know, man. You like, bam. You just know because you know your home, because you've been there for a while now.
Right.
You've inspected all of the rooms. You know where all the furniture is. Right?
Yes, sir.
And that's the same way with our home, the planet Earth. It's sad. Some black people have never left uptown to come downtown. They died, never seen downtown. Never go across the river. Cross the track, some of us. But the entire earth belongs to us, and we've never set foot outside of New Orleans. Isn't that something? So look. He asked the question, how many original Muslims are there in North America, which I talked about earlier. At that time of that writing, in the early 1930s, was a little over 17 million. The question is then asked, did I hear you say that some of the 17 million do not know that they are Muslims? Yes, sir. I hardly believe that unless they are blind, deaf, and dumb. But they were made blind, deaf, and dumb by the devil when they were babies. That's interesting. So remember the minister said that we must know ourselves historically? Well, what happened to us historically when we were babies that made us blind, deaf, and dumb? One of the things, just one of the things, is that when a baby was born on the plantation, the slave master would immediately take the baby away from the mother. And this is like the early days when we first came here, we were still speaking our original tongue. And they did not want the mothers teaching the children their original tongue. So they would take the babies and they would rear the babies. And they knew that we didn't eat certain foods. So they would get what's called tallow from the pig meat, dip it in tallow, and they would let the babies suck on it. And they would take some of the, what do you call it, grease or whatever from the pig, lard, and they would rub it directly right, that little soft spot in the baby's head, and they would rub it right in that little soft spot in the baby's head. See? And our people be like, well, I eat pig, I eat pork, and such. I understand. We know you just don't know. But that is a poison. And they knew that if they rub that directly in that little soft spot, it's going straight to the brain. See, when you eat pork, there's a live worm in pork called the strychnine worm. And you say, I know, I eat cured ham. It's cured. Cured of what? Well, first of all, why are you eating it if it had to be cured? But, kosher ham. Man, that's an oxymoron, right? But look, so this cured ham is cooked to a certain temperature, and they say it's now purified. But it doesn't make a difference what temperature you cook this thing at. This little worm, when the heat comes, it balls up. And it has like a little shell around it that protects it from the heat. And then once the heat simmers down, then it rolls back out and continues to do its thing. And when you eat it, it then goes into your bloodstream. And through your bloodstream into your joints. So you have arthritis, and you wonder why you have arthritis. And it goes through your joints and up to your brain. And it starts eating away at the brain cells. But the slave master wanted to speed up the process. So he just took it and rubbed it directly in the head of the baby. See? A double whammy. Let the baby suck on the meat and then still put it directly in their head. And so from babies, this is what happened to us. And they would teach us their way. They reared us the way they wanted us to be raised. And so therefore, we knew nothing of our mother tongue. We knew nothing of our God. All of that was stripped away from us. We were made blind, deaf, and dumb by the devil when we were babies. So look, the minister says, to be blind, deaf, or dumb is a handicap. However, when we are afflicted with all three of these conditions, blindness, deafness, dumbness, we are exceedingly handicapped. See, it's not like some of us are blind, somebody over there is deaf, somebody over there is dumb. No, all of us were made blind, deaf, and dumb. A triple whammy. A handicap is any disadvantage that makes success more difficult. It includes being physically disabled as well as mentally deficient. And so when you and I look at the black man and woman that's out there in the streets today, you are looking at a person that is mentally deficient. That's still God.
Yes, sir. Right.
But something happened to him or her. The very nature of them is still there. It just has to be tapped into.
That's right.
And once we can tap into and make a connection with the God in them, then they can rise up out of that condition.
That's right.
We okay?
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Now, I would like to talk about something else. We're still dealing with developing the greatness within yourself. Because we all need, myself included, to be developed.
That's right.
None of us are quite ourselves yet. Some of us have been working on it for a little longer than others, but we're all still in the process of being ourselves. Now, check this out. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad gives us a picture, and he gives us our history that we had never heard of before. Remember, we didn't know our history past slavery or before slavery. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us about a history that went back 66 trillion years. And you're like, wow. Well, how he know that? Right? We'll get into that. But, but he taught us about a history. And have you ever heard Caucasian scientists talk about this thing called the Big Bang Theory?
Yes, sir.
They say that at some point in time there was an explosion in the universe. And now the universe is continually expanding from that. And they are now trying to go back and study that and look into it through telescopes. And they say that if they can look back in the telescopes to the beginning of the Big Bang, then they can have a better idea of how the universe started. So in their mind, the Big Bang Theory was the beginning of the universe. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that wasn't the beginning of the universe.
Come on now.
That was just the beginning of this particular dispensation of time that we are in now. Because the actual universe is 78 trillion years old. You say, man, where these Muslims be coming up with these numbers from? So look, he said 66 trillion with a T years ago, there was one of our very wise scientists who wanted everybody to speak the same language or dialect. And he was unable to bring this about. He failed. He couldn't make everybody speak the same language or even the same dialect. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that he couldn't do it because of where people lived and the atmosphere. Some places have more water in the atmosphere, less water in the atmosphere. It just depends on where you live. And based on that, it affects the vocal cords, which gives different dialects of the same language.
Go ahead, man.
We all right?
Oh, yes, sir.
So he wanted everybody to speak the same dialect, not taking into consideration the atmosphere of where they lived. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that it was possible, but he was impatient. Isn't that something? And Minister Farrakhan said it wasn't for him to do. He's saying some of us are like that. We want something in life. We want to produce something in life. And we get impatient, and all of a sudden we fly off the handle and want to kill everything. He said, but it doesn't mean that your idea is not a valid idea. It just may not be time for that idea. It may be for your children to bring that in and not you. But impatience caused this scientist to say, I'm going to kill everybody. So he drilled a shaft into the earth. At that time, it was called moon. And he filled it with high explosives and set it off. And this explosion took place, and there was this part that remained that we are on called Earth. And there was another part that shot out 35,000 miles called Moon. Right. And so as the explosion took place, that part Moon was rotating, and the water that was there fell onto this part. That's why the earth that you and I are on today are 3 parts water and 1 part land. All of that water is here now. And if you look at the moon, you see craters in the moon. That's where water once was. Are you with me? Yes, sir. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that from that time, the moon has always been trying to get her water back. It's pulling on the earth. So when you go to the ocean and you got your bathing suits on and you ain't got no shoes on and you're running on the beach in the sand, and if you notice, at certain times of the day, there's a high tide. And those waves start coming in. Bam. That's the electromagnetic energy from moon pulling on the waters of the earth, trying to get her water back. But it also balances the water so that all of that water does not come on the land and drown out the people. Are you with me? Yes, sir. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad used that history as an example of what happened to us as a people and how we would have been separated from God, how we had been stolen, how we had been robbed, made blind, deaf, and dumb, disconnected from the source. But something on the inside of us continues to yearn for God. Black people are the most religious people on the planet. No matter what we go through, God's going to make a way. See? God is going to be with you, baby. God is going to help you, baby. I don't care what it is. We always leave it to God. Right? Isn't that something? And so that's us as a people. So the minister says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that Allah used the history of the work of the God of the moon 66 trillion years ago to teach us something of ourselves and of our enemy. We, the black man and woman in America, are devoid of wisdom and the knowledge of self and others, even as the moon is devoid of water. The fall of Adam represents man succumbing to the power of his lower nature, the underworld. The scripture says, all in Adam died because his fall under the powers of the lower self resulted in ruin, disgrace, and ultimately spiritual death, followed by an untimely physical death. We have lost our ability to sustain ourselves on this earth for any period of time For we are living a life lower than the animals. We happy to make 80, 70, 65 you good around this camp. We barely making 40 though. 30, 25. What's happened to us? See? If you make it past 70, man, you done did something in this world.
That's right.
But do you know in the Bible, do you know how old Adam lived? Huh? Anybody know Adam lived to be 900 and I think 46 or 64, one of those. But he was over 900. The oldest recorded person was Methuselah, who lived almost 1,000 years. 969 years. Adam was right below that. But think about this. In the Holy Quran, Allah says that a year has always been 12 months. Because some people will tell you, well, back then, the time used to be shorter. The years used to be shorter. That ain't what Allah says. The same amount of time that it took to make a year, or takes to make a year today, is the exact same amount of time it took to make a year back then. So they lived 800, 900 years. But then all in Adam died. Why? Because of a sin. And the sin was disobedience. And so as man disobeyed God, then all of a sudden we fell to our lower nature and took our lower nature for a God beside God.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden you get murder on the earth, envy, jealousy, robbing, stealing on the earth, lying on the earth. And God saw all of that, and he said that my spirit shall not always dwell among men. And so he removed his spirit, and then he capped the days of people to live to 120.
Listen.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
It's in the book.
That's right.
That's not Brother Lawrence talking. That's in the book. So disobedience has caused God to cap or limit the life of the human being because of our disobedience. Where we once lived almost 1,000 years, he capped it to 120, and I don't know too many people who done seen 120. I have a great uncle who went to 103. I have a great grandmother who went to 101. But I don't know too many who hit 120. I've heard of somebody hit 117. I've heard of that. I don't know who they was. They was somewhere else though. But why is it now? But the Bible says that a baby's gonna make it to 100. Go read the book of Daniel. A baby's gonna make it to 100 years old. So what's happened to you and I that we have such short lifespans? We are devoid of the wisdom, devoid of the knowledge that it takes to live a good and righteous life that will be extended throughout time. So look at this. He says, we are living a life lower than the animals, but Allah God intends for us to be his vicegerent, his Khalifa, his successor in this realm. So in the Bible, in the book of Revelations, the rulers of the earth are given the name serpent, beast, dragons. They are not considered redeemable. What time is it? Man, I gotta go. I'm not gonna say part two. I'm not gonna do that. But they are considered irredeemable. We are in an even worse condition than the rulers of this world, for we accept them as our leaders and take guidance from them. So as a result, we have become savages. And we call ourselves savages. One brother, 21 savage. He's savage to the 21st power or degree. Isn't that something? And I remember back in the days, man, when I was in Monroe, they had this young brother. He was a rapper. He was trying to sell his CD. And he came and he said, hey, man, you know, I'm rapping, man. This is my music. You know, you want to buy my CD? It's $5 or $10 or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, you nice with that thing? He's like, man, I'm a beast. He said, I'm a gorilla on this thing. You know what I'm saying? But in his eyes, that meant he's real good. Yeah, I translate that for some people, right? But we didn't realize, and this was like the first time I'd heard somebody refer to themselves as a beast. Wow. And I'm like, wow. And so that term started getting popular. I'm a beast. I'm a beast. And then you look at television, and Johnny Depp is on a commercial for some cologne. And the cologne is called Sauvage. For real, y'all ever seen the commercial? They play the commercial right now. It's called Sauvage. And I'm looking at the name, I'm like, man, that's a savage. They just put a little French twist on it, but it's savage. Y'all know the Allstate commercial, or I think it's the Allstate commercial where they're doing ballet and they talking about Bundele, Salve, Bundele, and the dude say, don't that just say bundle and save? But that, we wild, man. So look, the minister said we worse than the beast though. Because we accept them as our leaders and take guidance from them. So he says, as a result, we've become savages. So in our Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, we are taught that a savage means a person that has lost the knowledge of himself and who is living a beast life. This is why we are likened to the physically dead, and our return to civilized thinking is actually considered an impossibility. That's how the rest of the world looks at black people in America. They can never be redeemed. They can never be saved. They are beyond redemption. In our lessons that we have, we were taught and are taught that there was a group of people that had a conference. And in this conference, the conference was about us, the lost found members of the Nation of Islam. Had that they must return to their own. But there were some people among them who were like, yeah, I don't think they're going to make it. But there was one man who said, nah, I'm going to go after them. I'm going to redeem them. I'm going to bring them back to themselves again. That man is the founder of the Nation of Islam, Master Farad Muhammad. See, so when you hear us talk about him, we talk about him with reverence, with love, because nobody else believed in us but him. So even the angels said to him, the people who were around the table at the conference, they said, let them die. That's what they said. Let them die, man. You can't redeem them. They are beyond redemption. But he, by himself, with no help, nobody else to back him, he stood up. And if you go into the Bible, it talks about how God took off his holy robes.
Right.
And then he put on the clothes of the plain person. And he started trampling. And he came trampling or stomping the wine press until his garments got stained up. And it says that he came for the salvation of his people.
Go ahead.
That's the man we are talking about.
That's right.
Nobody believed in black people but Master Farad Muhammad.
That's right.
So I don't care what your religion is. Nobody cared about you as a Christian.
Right.
No white Christians care about black Christians.
Come on. Still though. Come on now, touch on that. Come on.
Why are you in an all-black church on Sunday and they in an all-white church on Sunday? Huh? They got a few little specks of pepper in their church. And when you see them in our churches, you best believe they're not there for the word. They are there as spies.
Right.
They are listening to what the preacher is teaching.
Right.
And they don't want him to go too far off script.
That's right. Man.
It's just real talk, man.
Yes, sir.
They don't give me a phone call.
So nobody cared about us but Master Father Muhammad. That's why we loved him. See?
That's right.
Because when nobody loved us, he did.
Yes, sir.
So I don't care what you say or think about him. I have to go to my grave
That's right.
praising that man.
That's right.
Right.
Give him all for that man.
That's right.
That's just real talk, man.
Real talk.
That wasn't was supposed to talk about, but
That's okay.
that's just real talk, man, because some people get upset when we say Allah came in the person of Master Father Muhammad, especially in the Orthodox Muslim world. Y'all practicing shirk. Do you know what shirk is? Shirk is setting up another God beside God. But the question is, who is God?
Right. That's right. That's the question. Come on.
See, when you go into the church and you ask them who is God, they can't tell you. Jesus is God. But that ain't what Jesus said. His disciples called him Master. Why callest thou me Master? Well, good Master. For there is none good but the Father.
Right.
Who is that? Who is the Father?
Come on now.
Because Jesus took himself out of that equation. And you can show that to our people and we'll still believe it. Because that's their foundation. We were made blind, deaf, and dumb by the devil when we were babies.
Right.
Jesus in the Bible says that he wanted us to become one with him as he is one with his Father.
He said.
Who is the Father? Jesus is hanging on a cross. He says some words. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? Stop right there.
Who are you talking to?
That's two different people.
That's right.
That's somebody with power and authority, and there's someone who depends on that power and authority, and the one who is dependent thinks that the one with the power has forsaken him.
Right.
And so the people said, look, he calls for Elijah. Let us see if Elijah will come and take him down. So if he is God, why is he calling on a power outside of himself? In the Muslim world, a lot of them are no better than the Christians because they believe in a spook God as well. They believe God can't be seen, can't be touched. You don't know God and you can't know him because he's infinite. But look at what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says. He says that the brain of man is infinite. He said you can find no other wisdom that's infinite outside of the brain of man. Think of anything that you have ever experienced or seen in your life. Where did it come from? It came from out of the mind of a human being. The house you live in came out of the mind of a man. The airplanes that we ride on came from the mind of a man. These people right now are in laboratories doing things you and I can't even fathom. But it's not some spirit that's dropping it out of the sky. It's human beings in a laboratory experimenting. So in the Muslim world, in the Orthodox Muslim world, they say the Nation of Islam is committing shirk by saying that Allah appeared in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad. But we're not committing shirk. If you read, I don't have one up here, but we do have the back page of this book here, Message to the Black Man. What the Muslims believe. Point number 12. We believe that Allah God appeared in the person of Master W. Prophet Muhammad, July 1930, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. Now check out this second part. It's very crucial. We believe further and lastly that Allah is God. And besides him, there is no God, and he will bring about a universal government of peace wherein we all can live in peace together. Listen at that now. We believe further and lastly that Allah is God. And we say Allah appeared in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad. We did not say Master Prophet Muhammad is Allah. We say God appeared in his person. Well, what is God? God is that which has force and power. And when you see a human being that is able to exercise force, exercise power, be able to set down tyrants, and be able to redeem a people, make blind people see, deaf people hear, dumb people speak, make lame to walk, then what are you looking at? You are looking at God in a human being. We understand and know that Allah is the originator of the heavens and the earth. I just told you that was 78 trillion years ago. Master Prophet Muhammad was born in the 1800s. So he can't be the originator. But in this time that you and I are living in, the very spirit, the knowledge, the wisdom of God is being manifest through this human being. So when you graduate school, you have valedictorian and salutatorian. Is that right? The valedictorian is supposedly the smartest person in the whole class. Is that right? He's got the highest grade, the highest grade point average. Well, when you look at the entire earth as a classroom, there's a human being that has the highest GPA. There's a human being who actually studied in class and learned all of the material of the class and mastered all of the material in the class, which validates him as the valedictorian. He is the wisest. He is the smartest. He is the one that is able to exercise the most power and authority.
Right.
Well, today, that's Master Farad Muhammad. Praise be to Allah. So Allah, God, the originator, appeared in his person. And that one, with that wisdom, that knowledge, that understanding, saw the condition of black people in America, and he said, I'm going to go after them.
Right.
You don't have to back me up. I'm going to go by myself, and I'm going to save them. So the Orthodox Muslim world is looking for the Mahdi. The long word is the Mahdiya. And they, especially in Iran, they are looking for the Mahdi. The Mahdi is a human being, but he has power to set down all tyrants. He's going to break the cross. He's going to kill the swine. He's going to set justice in the earth. Well, what human being you know that's going to sit down any of these tyrants and presidents and set justice in the earth?
Come on, man.
America is supposedly the greatest and most powerful nation on the earth. Who's going to set her down? It takes God to set down America.
That's right.
And God is present in the world in a human being. And that human being has come to develop the God in each and every one of us. So there's no need in the future for us to take these people as guides and leaders. You and I will be able to guide ourselves with the wisdom and the knowledge and understanding of the originator.
Right.
Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
That wasn't even our subject.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Praise be to Allah. Let me hurry up. We got a couple of minutes. Golly. He says, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, however, this exquisite knowledge of God, self, and others given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will ultimately lead us to absolute power and mastery over self. Did y'all catch that?
Yes, sir.
This knowledge will lead us to absolute power and mastery over self. As a result, the devil will be completely destroyed. No more devils will exist on the earth, not just by physical destruction, but by the return of man to himself, by mastery over the forces within himself, the lack of which led to his fall 66 trillion years ago. Isn't that something?
Yes, sir. Beautiful.
See, so you and I, family, are in a classroom. And this classroom produces gods.
That's right.
Now, if you don't want to be a god, then this is not the classroom for you. But if you want to be a god, a person that is able to exercise power and force, then this is the classroom for you. And the more you and I study, the more you and I apply what we study, then we will start to grow. It's not a little quick sprint. It's not a sprint at all. It's a marathon. What Nipsey said, the marathon continues. Yeah, this one continues, family. But believe it or not, when you're in this race for a while, and then you turn back and look at where you were when you first started the race,
Right.
it's like, wow, man, I've come a long way. So some of us sometimes can get so bogged down in the everyday grind of life. The everyday grind of, man, I got to go to the mosque. The everyday grind of, man, let me do some studying. The everyday grind of this, that, and the other. But once we are able to look up and then recall, say, man, I've come a long, long way. I used to be like this. Now I don't do that anymore. I used to do that, but I don't do those things anymore. What does that mean? That means we are slowly but surely awakening to the God that's within us, to the greatness that is within you and I, family. And so, man, I really had a whole bunch more to say, but I went to the other side with Master Farad Muhammad. I just felt I needed to get that out.
Thank you.
With Master Farad Muhammad, praise be to Allah. Because that's a very big contention point with the Nation of Islam, you know? And the thing about it, either we crazy or we know something.
They can't call us liars.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he met with God.
Right.
Either he crazy or he knows something. And the thing about it is, you get a man who completed the 3rd grade of school. He went to the 4th grade, but he never completed the 4th grade of school. Think about that. Never completed the 4th grade in the early 1900s. But here's a man who has confounded the scholars of the world. All of the theologians of the world cannot defeat what this man has taught us.
Right.
Where did he get it from? How did he come up with it? Some people say that he taught mythology. But where did he even get the brain power on a 4th grade education to come up with such a wonderful mythology?
Life changed.
Yeah, how can he change the lives of human beings with mythology? Get people to take needles out of their arms with mythology. Now, I've read some mythology in my life, and it didn't cause no life-changing, life-altering things to happen. I just read it, and it looked like a nice story. You know what I'm saying? Y'all read about Hercules and Zeus and all them other people? Y'all know that's mythology, right? Greek mythology. And who did the Greeks study under? Who did Plato study under? Socrates. Who did they study under? See, Pythagorean. Who did they study under? They studied under us. See? But then they cut us off from our own history and claimed it for themselves, and we look up to them as gods. But that time is over with. It's time for you and I to look towards ourselves and get ourselves back up to where we're supposed to be with the help of Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. Thank you, family. Assalamu alaikum. Can you slide that little thing off on the recorder?